This week on Dance of Joy, we talk about neglected strawberry ice cream, excellent adventures in California, and how much fun it is to say the name Dick Butkus. All that and more as we watch Season 5, Episode 13 of our favorite 80s hit sitcom, Perfect Strangers. Hello and welcome to Dance of Joy, a Perfect Strangers rewatch podcast. My name is Imran. Joining me here every week is my lovely sister, Sophia. Hi, Sophia.
Hello.
How's it going?
It's going lovely. You know what I was just thinking about is like you and me, our listeners don't know this, but you and me don't look alike.
That's correct.
We don't look alike. And in fact, I thought beyond that, I don't even have any cousins that I look like, and neither do you.
Oh my God, all our cousins look completely different.
That's true. We're all like kind of individuals, like how no one would know anybody was related.
Yeah, I prefer it that way. That way they can't find me when they need money or something. You know what I'm saying? Also, we're not identical. We'll get to that in a second.
We are not
Cousins being identical is a weird thing, but we are up to Season 5, Episode 13 of Perfect Strangers. This one titled, Because They're Cousins.
Identical cousins. That's not part of the title. The title is just called Because They're Cousins.
But those three words may make you sing that song. Why is that, sister?
Because that was the theme song of the Patty Duke Show.
That's right.
From the 60s. It ran on ABC from 1963 to 1966. And the story of the Patty Duke Show was that Patty Duke, who was a teenager, a child actor at the time, starred as two cousins, as identical cousins, and she played both parts. One was Patty, the fun-loving American cousin, and Kathy, the straight-laced Scottish cousin.
Oh, this is like an early predecessor to Perfect Strangers here.
Yeah, but she played both parts, yes.
Yes, which is also, that's very advanced for the 60s.
For the 60s, it was quite advanced. They used a split-screen technology where they would film her on each side of the screen on the same set doing different parts, and there would often be like a seam, like a door frame or some kind of line in the middle that would look natural to split the screen.
But in this episode, why is it called Because They're Cousins?
Because, well, if you read the TV guide description, you would have read Larry sees right through Balky's visiting cousin Bartok, parentheses, Bronson Pinchot, in a dual role.
Whoa.
Bartok, who is the splitting image of Balky, except that he has shed his humble Meposian ways and adopted a slick new American image, which includes taking advantage of Balky.
Get ready for some state-of-the-art 1990 special effects here, listener.
Yeah. Well, it was filmed in November 1989, but it aired on January 5th, 1990. In fact, the first episode of Perfect Strangers.
In the 90s.
The 90s.
The first new episode. That's crazy. And of course, our cast continues to be Bronson Pinchot as Balky and Bartok. Mark Lindbaker as Larry Appleton. We get some Rebecca Arthur as Marianne, a little Belina Moreno as Lydia, and Sam Anderson as Mr. Sam Gorpley makes an appearance.
Yes. This is super interesting. We'll talk about some of this technology when we get there. Let's start. Act 1. We are setting up the story. We are in the cousin's apartment, and the apartment is fully decorated, like overflowing. You know, we know how these guys like to decorate their apartment for occasions. But it's over decorated with Meposian stuff.
Yes, it's a very rustic.
All over. Meposian folk art and like produce.
There's
and
strings
like
of garlic. There's vines, gourds everywhere, pumpkins.
Like a sheepskin thing over the couch.
Lots of foliage. This is apparently what it's like to be in Mepos.
Yes. It looks like a home goods store in the fall.
Yes, I can almost smell the fake cinnamon emitting from the screen. Whoa, that's some powerful nutmeg.
Well, you were smelling cinnamon, but in fact, Larry was smelling something else because we opened this scene with Balky telling Larry to hurry up because cousin Bartok will be here any minute. And Larry comes out of his room and he stops in the middle of the living room and he does this funny, like, cartoonish sniff. He's like,
He does it once. No, he
like
does
a mousy sniff.
Well, it's
in
a running
row.
gag where he'll do it once, and then he'll be like,
Yeah.
and it looks like a mouse. He looks
Little
like a
mousy
rodent
sniffing the air.
He's done this before.
So he's smelling something kind of not right, not pleasant. And he asks Balky, there's like this big sheepskin, this big white sheepskin.
On the sofa.
Laying on the back of the sofa. And he asked Balky if he washed it after his mama sent it from Mipos. And Balky says, well, of course not. Don't be ridiculous. If we want Cousin Bartok to feel at home here, the apartment has to smell barnyard fresh.
Oh, so it smells like a zoo right now, I guess, in the apartment. That should make Bartok feel at home. And apparently Balky has told Larry stories about Bartok several times, because Balky walks over to Larry and starts to tell him a story about that time Cousin Bartok and him made water balloons out of, and Larry says at the same time, sheep ladders, as he says.
He's finishing every sentence of Balky's as he tells the story.
And then Balky's like, oh, and then we climbed up to the roof of Cousin
Bartok's hut.
Larry says. And we dropped them on
Devo the Butcher. And he thought it was a sign from God, so he lowered his prices.
Larry finishes the story for Balky, and this shocks Balky. And he just asks him, were you there?
And Larry's like, nope, I was here. I was listening to you tell that story over and over and over again. So
Balky has talked about Bartok many times. We get a callback to Devo the Butcher. I remember Devo the Butcher.
Not so many episodes ago, season 5, episode 9 in Hello Ball.
Yeah, what is the proverb? What is the one thing we learned from Devo?
You can pretend to be someone else and get free soup bones, but sooner or later you have to dance with the butcher.
Yes, true. Words to live by still.
Devo the Butcher, yes. And Balky's like, so he called Balky out for like telling this story over and over again. Balky, of course, says he can't help himself. He's just so excited. And as he's saying he's excited, he like sees something crawling in the sheepskin, and he like picks it out.
Picked a flea
like a
out of the sheepskin and just flicked it into the room.
Smashed it with his fingers.
That thing needs to be washed.
So he's saying that he's so excited that Cousin Bartok is coming, and this is a sweet line. He says, my favorite cousin from Mipos is finally going to meet my favorite cousin from America.
Oh, that's nice. And Larry says he'll be honored. And Larry has some plans. He goes, who knows? As long as he's here, maybe we can show him what it's like to be a bachelor on the loose in Chicago.
And then he does that,
and then Balky starts to go, and then they both go, and then they both stop and sigh at the same time. And of course, Balky has no idea what they're talking about, and we get a great
what are we talking about?
from Balky, because he has no idea that Larry is alluding
says,
to some adult fun.
But of course, Larry says what it's like to be a bachelor on the loose in Chicago. They both have girlfriends. They're not on the loose.
Is this a committed relationship, or are they seeing other people? It's never been cleared
know.
up.
Like, what is he eyeing about?
Look, Bartok's a bachelor. They can pretend they can help him out. But yes.
But Balky has no idea what he's talking about.
What are we talking about?
And Larry just says, forget it. And then Balky warns Larry that something about Cousin Bartok, and he tells him that he's kind of meek and mild and shy. That he only arrived in Los Angeles like not long ago, 6 months ago. So he says, so you can't expect him to be as Neapolitan as I am.
And Larry says, that's cosmopolitan.
Yes.
Neapolitan's the ice cream.
Yes.
Where you just eat the chocolate part out and you leave the strawberry and vanilla to get freezer burn for like a year, and then you just throw it out.
I mean, sometimes you eat the vanilla too, but definitely the strawberry gets freezer burn.
See, I would eat the vanilla last if I had to. I would go strawberry. Because vanilla,
in our house, don't you remember when we were kids in our house, the strawberry always left. The strawberry was always there at the end.
That's a good
we
point.
ate the chocolate.
The chocolate went right away.
And it was like a straight line, like not even a morsel of strawberry was eaten.
You know what you had to do? You had to buy 3 Neapolitans. So you just eat all the chocolate.
Yeah.
When you could have just bought 1 chocolate ice cream and you had the same
Some people, I was shocked to find out as an adult that many people actually enjoy strawberry ice cream.
It's okay.
And orange candy, 2 things we never ate as a kid.
But did anybody eat the Neapolitan ice cream like they showed it on the box with all 3
You
flavors?
Can't.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you have to. How would you scoop
No, you
it?
can't actually. You can't physically do that. That box is a lie.
Because the columns are wider than the scoop.
Wide. Yeah, okay. That's a good point. I never thought about that.
You can't. Anyway. We digress.
What flavor did you eat out of the Neapolitan, listener? Let us know. Email us.
But Neapolitan, I think, is a broader reference than just ice cream because the ice cream is named for, is it not a reference to Napoleon? Yeah.
That's what I thought. What is Neapolitan? Is there another meaning for Neapolitan?
Why does ice cream... Oh, because... No, it's not Napoleon. It's from Naples.
Oh, Naples,
Napoli.
I mean, Napoleon was from... He was from Italy.
No, he was French.
Napoleon was French. Yeah. Okay, I got my everything confused. Naples, Italy invented the 3-color ice cream.
Listeners, we have to apologize. We were just watching Celebrity Jeopardy earlier today. Oh my God,
the questions are so easy. Why are these celebrities so dumb?
Some of the celebrities' dumbness has
They get the easiest questions and they still don't have the answer. It's surprising. Anyways, okay. Neapolitan, cosmopolitan.
Right. So Balky's saying, oh, I'm so cool. I'm so adapted because I've been in this country for a few years now.
And Bartok may not be...
Bartok's only been here for a minute.
Assimilated as much.
Larry even says that's cosmopolitan, and after the last 4 years, I think I'm prepared for anything. So that's how we know that Balky has now been in America for 4 years.
And Bartok's been in LA for 6 months. Interesting. And Balky has forgotten something very important. He says, I almost forgot the Babo Digable wreath. And Larry goes, the Babo Digable wreath?
It's the traditional Meposian welcome wreath made from the beards of 100 unmilked goats.
Why do they have to be unmilked? Is that, does the hair grow different? Is there something happening with the hormones?
That's what it is.
It's more rare, better, good luck.
So he says, I'll be right back. And he runs off to his bedroom, taking him out of the scene just when there is a knock at the door. And Larry opens it and his jaw drops in shock when he sees...
What do we see?
Somebody who looks exactly like Balky standing there, and he's got a bag, and he's not dressed like Balky.
He's got nice khakis, like a normal
late
person.
80s, yes. Like slick, like pastel colored sweater and pants,
hair
like
slicked back.
California looking California looking guy. And when he speaks in this like California surfer dude accent that was very popular in the late 80s entertainment scene.
And to be clear, this is Bronson Pinchot, right? Playing a dual role. And he goes, hey, hi, I'm looking for Balky Bartokamos. And Larry's just standing there with his eyes open. He doesn't say anything. He goes, Balky Bartokamos?
And he's like, sorry, dude, I must have the wrong apartment. And Larry's like, no, come in. You must be Bartok. And then he goes, yo. And he comes in. Larry welcomes him in, and he goes, all right, excellent.
This is great. We have Southern California Bronson Pinchot.
Surfer dude accent. But like this, we'll talk about the accent. Well, we can talk about it now. This accent was like very popular in entertainment in the 80s and 90s, right? But earlier that year in 1989, well, this was aired in 1990, but filmed in 1989, this accent, this like California dude bro accent became very popular with which movie?
Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. Bogus. Dude, that's a great movie. And yes, it definitely, he's channeling Keanu sometimes in this. It sounds like him from that movie, but then also he's bringing something to it from himself with the Southern accent. But yeah, dude, everybody, you know, Full House had Stephanie Tanner saying dude.
Yeah.
They're in San Francisco, but the 80s surfer vibe. Point Break had come out.
Yeah.
Point Break is about to come out in the 90s where Keanu plays an FBI surfer dude.
So yeah. So it was very popular. And in fact,
we saw him do this accent before, Balky.
Yes, we saw him do it when he was like incognito, getting information at a restaurant or something.
That's right, the newsletter episode where he was getting the newsletter information.
Yeah, so this accent was all over the place, and so it would have been very funny to hear it in this episode.
I love him doing this accent. All right, so we have Balky now playing Bartok, and suddenly Bronson playing Bartok, when suddenly Bronson playing Balky enters into the scene from his bedroom with the Babo Digbo wreath. And here comes some camera trickery and some kind of impressive early special effects here.
Okay, so that's right. So the way they filmed this episode, as far as I understand it, is that Bronson Pinchot's brother, Justin
Yes.
Pinchot, who looks, they're not twins, but they look alike. There was a strong family resemblance there. They did film this episode in front of a live studio audience, and Bronson and Justin would play the opposite parts, and Justin's back of the head is in many of
So
these
I believe
scenes.
he even did all the lines so that
Right.
Bronson has something to react to. So they had to do the whole thing twice with them
Right.
switch.
I think so, yeah.
To get the reaction and the cutaways. And every time you see them hug close up, whether it's the back of Balky's head or the back of Bartok's head, that is the back of Bronson Pinchot's brother, Justin.
And they didn't use so like split screen was very popular for a while, as we talked about, even as far back as the 60s. But they didn't use that. They used a green screen, blue screen technology,
chroma
which was
key,
yeah.
where you film them in front of a solid color background. It can be green, it can be blue. Generally, those are the
Yeah.
colors used. And then you key out the background. You make it a transparent shot, and it's matte. It's placed right on top. So I believe they were able to. They shoot this green screen at the same time so they could react to get the timing or whatever. But you'll notice kind of a white outline and the lighting being a little bit different.
It was innovative for the time, but now when we watch it, it's very
80s
obvious.
sitcom
and
to
you
do
can
this.
tell,
It's very ambitious,
Yeah.
and it overall it works because you can do things that you can't do in the split screen, like have a character cross in front of another the same
right.
character.
which they have later on in the party scene in this episode.
Funny thing is, now on your home computer in Adobe After Effects and Premiere, you can easily chroma key green screen out anyone.
Yeah, anyone, yeah.
And it's
crazy.
gone to the point where there's a show called Orphan Black where Tatiana Maslany plays 7 clones of herself.
Oh,
all
man.
completely different characters. And there are scenes where there's 5 of them and you forget that it is the same woman playing all 5 of these characters. It's so well weaved together and the characters are so well realized that you're like, oh my God, it's the same girl, but you forget about it. It's so good.
And like we've seen them use this green screen technology before in this show, like when they were on the raft.
Skiing episode, I think, also.
Skiing, the raft, and whatever. Every time we've seen it, it looks like really obvious to us now. But speaking of modern technology, like even Zoom, even your regular old Zoom
you
has
can
like
take the background out.
such good and if you do have a proper green screen behind
It'll
you,
take it
like
right
the
out.
background looks sometimes I get on like my coworkers and I'm like, wow, that's a really nice room you have, and they're like, that's not a real room.
Yeah.
I'm like, that looks so good.
You can get a clean, keyed out green screen these days with just a simple thing. It's so
amazing.
crazy
Yeah.
how crazy the technology's gone. But at the time, they did it. They pulled it off. So you'll notice the other person's profile changes because that's Justin. Like the back from the back,
Right.
the side of the nose, the cheek. It's a little bit different than Bronson.
But they definitely have the same like hair
Yeah.
and all that. Yeah.
They're the same height.
Yeah.
There's the other thing that confused me. How do cousins end up being identical? It's never explained. They didn't explain it on the Patty Duke show. What kind of
Did they not
weird
explain
genetics
it?
is this?
On the Patty Duke show.
It's very suspicious. How are cousins identical? Anyways,
some random
whatever.
runaway gene.
Suspension of disbelief.
Okay,
Here we
so now we have Bronson playing both Balky and Bartok. Bartok has just arrived, and Balky comes out of his room with this wreath, the Baba Digobo wreath, and he sees Bartok, and before he sees Bartok, he's like, I hope he gets here soon. The Baba Digobo wreath is starting to shed. And then he sees him, and then they like, Balky, cousin Bartok, and they give each other a big hug. And then Bartok goes, all right. And Balky does this chant. He goes with the wreath and moves it from side to side in front of Bartok. He goes, Babo, Babo, Digo, Digo, Bo. And he puts it over his head, this big circle hoop thing over his head. And Bartok's just like, wow, a Baba Digo Bo wreath. All right, heavy, dude.
Heavy, dude.
Heavy.
Everything was heavy.
That was like a California...
That was in
guy
Back to
phrase.
the Future a lot.
Heavy
Where
in the 80s.
Marty would say, Doc, that's heavy. And the doc would be like, why is everything heavy in the future, Marty? Is something wrong with the gravitational forces? He didn't understand when he was back in 1955. He would say heavy.
Heavy. Yeah, heavy's not. I wonder when
That's
that
heavy,
went out
dude.
of fashion. We don't say that.
Right. And so then Balky introduces Bartok to Larry. He goes, I want to introduce you my cousin Larry, cousin Bartok, cousin Bartok, cousin Larry. And then he goes in to shake his hand, but he does like the arm wrestling handshake, where it's not straight, where it's like you go like I don't know how to describe it.
Like a cool California handshake.
It's a hip handshake. And Larry goes, "It's very nice to meet you, Bartok." And Bartok goes, "Likewise, dude. And just go ahead, call me Bart. That's cash." I said casual.
And Larry's just like looking at Balky and Bartok, and he's like, "Are you sure you two are just cousins? I can't believe how much you look alike." And Bartok's like, "Really?" And then
both of them don't see it.
Yeah, and Balky's like, maybe a little around the eyes, but I mean, it's not like the Patty Duke show.
Yeah, but it's exactly like the Patty Duke show.
Yeah, it's exactly like the Patty Duke show. So anyway, Bartok says, "Thanks for letting me crash here for a few nights." And Larry's like, "Well, of course, we have a perfectly fine couch right here." And then Bartok goes, "Oh, wow, couch.
Couch, man."
And he goes, "If I didn't have a bad back, that couch would sound totally bodacious." So that was a big phrase, too, from California. And he's like, "But maybe I better just scope out a hotel." And
he's laying on a little guilt trip here.
Yeah, and Balky's not having it. He says, "Bite your tongue off." And he says that he will take the couch and Bartok can take his bedroom. And so Bartok's very excited. He's like, "All right, excellent.
All right, B-man." He calls him so many fun things this episode.
I feel like we have to say every line of his.
This first one is,
so good.
All right, B-man.
All right, B-man.
You're all right.
And then he's like, "Oh, dude, I almost forgot. I got the taxi cab waiting downstairs. I'm a little lean on green." And Balky's like, "No, you look fine."
You look fine.
Of course, lean on green, meaning he's low on cash. And then Balky's like, "It's okay. I'll take care of the cab. You just make yourself comfortable." And Bartok's like, "Excellent." And Balky runs off out the front door singing the Patty Duke song, but they're cousins, identical cousins. And he leaves. Then it's just Larry and Bart in the apartment. And Larry says to Bart, that he wasn't what he was expecting. He says, "I thought somebody from Meepos would be much more Meeposian." And then Bart goes, "Well, let me tell you a little story about that, Lair."
Lair.
He's like, "Hey, you mind if I call you Lair?" And Larry starts to say, "Well, actually, I'd prefer if you'd call it." And he goes, "Great, Lair."
Great, Lair. And he goes and he sits on the sofa and he has this great monologue here. He sits down. He goes, "Well, the deal is, see, when I first hit L.A., I looked like our friend Balky out there, and people looked at me like I was this total geek.
Your California dude is terrible."
And I was like, "Oh, wow." Okay, you do it.
He's like, "I was like bummed. And then I was lucky enough to hook up with this dude, Frankie Bathgate." And he goes to me, he goes, "Dude." And I go, "What?" And he goes, "Oh, wow." And I go, "Huh?" And he goes, "Numero uno, what you got to do is get rid of everything that says Meepos. And that includes like your clothes, the accent, and anything made out of goat hair." And then he looks around the apartment and he goes, "Does your apartment always look like this?" And Larry tells him that no, Balky decorated it that way to make him feel at home. And Bart says, "Well, the way to really make me feel more at home is to get a couple of babes up here. Know what I mean?"
And then he does this really annoying laugh too, which is great. He's like,
that's a Bill and Ted laugh, I think.
It's this total cringy laugh.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a little skeevy with
but here's the thing.
babes.
He said he wants to get babes up here, and then Larry looks very uncomfortable. But Larry just a minute ago was like, let's teach him about bachelors on the loose.
Now he's all prude all of a sudden. Strange.
Weird. Okay, so then we cut to the next scene, and we're at the Chronicle. And here we have the tool of Gorbley and Lydia to tell us more information
about Bartok.
About who Bartok is as a character. So basically, Lydia comes into the basement and Larry's like, "Oh, I heard you met Balky's cousin, Bart. What'd you think of him?" And she's like, says, "Oh, he's nice," but she's like hiding.
She's like, "Oh,
pained. And
nice."
Larry's like, "What'd you really think of him?" And she says, "Maybe just me. But it really turns me off when someone says, 'Hey, babe, nice to meet you. How many bucks do you pull down a week?'" So he's kind of skeevy.
He's so skeevy, just asking women. Gorbley walks in and goes, well, I like the guy. And Larry goes, wait a minute. After you had breakfast with him and Balky, he stuck you with the check. And Gorbley goes, I know. That's why I like him. See, he can relate.
Gorpley's skeevy, too.
Bart may be even too skeevy for Gorpley. He's going to con Gorpley. This is crazy.
Balky comes running in from the loading dock area, and he's like, everybody, I have great news. And he's got new sunglasses on, which Lydia notes, and he says that cousin Bartok talked him into buying them, and he takes them off. He goes, totally tubular.
Oh, my God. There's so many California
doing like the California
words
in his Meposian accent.
He's very childlike
Totally
in this whole thing right here, too. It's really weird. He's very excited. He says he's having a party for his cousin Bartok
on Saturday.
And the plan was, as Larry asked, that Bartok was leaving on Wednesday. And Balky goes, that's the good news, cousin. Cousin Bartok has decided to start his business right here in Chicago, and he'll be staying with us until he can find an apartment in my price range, he said. Find him an apartment in my price range. So he's already asked him, hey, Balkman, can you hook me up with an apartment?
Yeah, and this is the first we hear about why Bartok's even there in the first place. He's starting a business
idea.
Yeah.
And Balky goes, isn't that way cool? I'm totally stoked. Just shoving in as many California things you can.
And he's like, I got to go tell everyone else about the party. And he runs off. And as he's running off screen, we hear him yell, hey, dudes, let's party. Dudes.
Party, party, party.
And Gorpley is even more impressed with Bartok at this point. He says, you've got to hand it to a guy who can rip off his own family.
Man.
And then he stops for a beat. And he goes, I think I'll go call my mother.
Is he going to scam some money off her?
Inspired by Bartok, yeah.
Man, when even Gorbley is as shocked, it's bad news. As we cut from that scene, and we are now at the night of the party, the Saturday night party, and the apartment is happening. There's guests everywhere.
That's right.
And you notice some more green screen technology as they try to cut in Bartok into the scene.
Yeah, so the opening scene of the party is like to the right side of the apartment.
Where the dining room table is.
Balky in the background in the kitchen.
Yes.
And Bartok in the foreground at the dining room table.
Two Bronsons.
Where the food is and punch bowl and stuff are. And then Bart walks off. So
and Gorbley and Lydia are just eyeing Bartok, watching him walk away. And Gorbley finally has to ask Balky, so Bartokamus, what is this great business idea that Bart has? This is a good question. We're all dying to know.
And Balky says, it's actually not his idea. The idea belongs to a guy in California named John Greeley. But cousin Bartok has obtained all the marketing rights. And he says, all that's left to do is, so clearly this is what he's heard from Bartok. So he says, all that's left to do is the wheeling and dealing and shaking and bacon.
You're going to shake and bake and wheel and deal.
And Gorpley's like, okay, but what's the idea? And then Balky's like, hold on to your cats.
Not your hats, your cats.
Oh, I was thinking hold your horses, but hold on to your hats. Yeah, because you're going to be surprised.
Hold on to your hat. Hold on to your cats.
And he says, it's a beach towel. Gorpley's like, a beach towel? Well, move over Donald Trump.
I can't believe we're getting a Donald Trump reference from the 90s in a completely different setting and context.
As a businessman.
As a successful real estate mogul businessman kind of thing. Yeah. Very weird to hear that. But that's how big he got back then.
So this dude in California named John Greeley, who owns this idea, maybe is a reference to Horace Greeley.
Who's that?
A newspaper editor who lived in the mid 1850s.
Oh, that was a long time ago.
Who claims the credit of having said, "Go west, young man," in reference to opportunities in the Wild Wild West, particularly in California. Maybe.
I doubt it.
Well, there is a California link, so maybe. Okay. So he says it's a beach towel, and then Lydia's like, Balky, they've already invented the beach towel. And Balky says, but not the piece or the beach towel.
Piece or the beach.
Piece or the beach. It's a towel the color of sand. He says, Cousin Bartok says it's truly bodacious. It's the towel the color of sand. So it actually looks like a piece of the beach.
Aha.
And Lydia's like, what happens when you go swimming? When you come back, how do you find your towel again? And Balky thinks about it. And
This
he goes,
gets him.
Wow. That is a good question. But he says, but I'm sure Cousin Bartok's already thought about it. He never thinks about anything but business. That's also a key line into what's going on. We'll find out.
A towel that looks like the beach, but all beaches don't look the same, and you're never going to find it. What a scam idea.
And
Love
interesting that he has to come to Chicago for so the beach is a very California thing, but he has to come to Chicago for the marketing. Chicago is a big hub for marketing and advertising.
That's true.
That's
some of the biggest ad agencies are.
They kind of just skipped the whole
Yeah.
reason explaining any of that. But.
It doesn't. Anyways, Bartok is all business, and we learned this is all business means a number of things as we cut to the other side of the room, and Bartok has now eyed Marianne, and he approaches Marianne, and he kind of grabs her by the arm. He goes, "You know, the minute I saw you, I knew you're awesome." I was like, "Oh wow, obliterated." And then he goes, "But there's something missing, me." Ugh. Oh, what a line. And Marianne, to her defense, she handles this perfectly. She goes, "Oh, you're not missing. You're right here." Way to shut him down.
And then Bart goes, "You are heavy," meaning he's impressed by what she just said. And then Marianne just stops and thinks for her. She goes, "This sounds like a cheap come on line. Forget it. And I'm not heavy."
I'm not heavy.
And she walks away. And then Jennifer walks up to him and she's like saying like, "Oh, you must be Bartok." And he cuts her off saying, "You know, the minute I saw you,
He does the same
I
spiel.
knew you were awesome." I was like, "Oh, wow, obliterated." But there's something missing. And just then Larry steps between them with
he's been watching this whole
tray
thing.
of hors d'oeuvres. And he's like, "You're right. It's me."
Little Larry.
And he says,
save.
"I see you've
Good
met
save.
Jennifer, my girlfriend." And then Bartok's like, "Oh, whoops." And he goes, "Oh, and she's a total babe."
She's a total babe.
And he goes, "I should know. I'm a licensed babe-tician."
They used to have T-shirts that said, "I'm a licensed babe-tician."
Really?
I like gag T-shirts at like touristy shops
Is
in
that
Florida.
a line from some other 80s movie?
No, it's just a really dumb
Gross.
surfer 80s thing. I'm a licensed babe-tician, man.
Anyway, he laughs at his own joke the way Balky does, and he goes, "Where do I come up with them?"
See, they are related. They both do the same thing.
And so Larry sends Jennifer to check on the cheddar puffs or something. And she walks away, and Bart's like, "Later, babe." And then he apologizes to Larry. He goes, "Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Lair, major wipeout on my part. Way sorry, dude. Bart never hits on another dude's lady."
Oh, Bart's got a code. That's good.
Yeah. And then he's like, "Listen, Lair, I got some killer news." And he says he finally got the financial backing for his own project, and he'll be getting his own pad soon.
Okay.
This week.
Pad. Get my own pad, dude.
And Larry's like, Larry congratulates him and asks him where he got the money, who's his backer. And just then, Balky runs out of the kitchen into the living room, and he has a big announcement. He says, everyone, I have an announcement to make.
Oh, I wonder what this announcement is.
And Bartok goes and joins him, and now they're standing side by side. And here it's very obvious that Bartok is
composited, yes, the green screen in the screen.
And he goes, "Hit it, Balkman." Balkman. Balky announces that he and cousin Bartok are going into business together.
What?
And he says, with his keen business instincts and my life savings,
oh boy,
I don't see how we can miss.
Oh boy.
And everyone's like, what? And we fade to black. First of all, how much life savings do you think Balky has? He works in the mailroom at the Chronicle, and he probably sends money home to Mama every month.
You think he saved up a couple $1,000s? I figured that's all you'd need to start a business, like something like that. But Conman Cousin is now fully exposed as the scene fades to black. That's the end of Act 1. Listener, join our Facebook group where the conversation begins and ends and continues. You can meet other listeners of the show and fans of Perfect Strangers. And I post threads on every episode we're going to record so you can leave your observations, memories, and comments, and we'll work them into the show. We love sharing those. There is a link in the description to this said Facebook group.
Yes. Okay, so we move into Act 2, and the party's over now, and Larry and Balky are cleaning up. It's late at night, and they've got a trash bag. You can see that they're obviously cleaning up from the party. And Bart is not there, and Larry asks
Larry is
where he
annoyed
is.
that Bart is not
yeah,
there.
He's like, "Where is he? It would have been nice if he could help us clean up."
Yes, it would have.
And Balky says he's playing basketball.
Okay.
And Larry's like, "Basketball at 1:00 in the morning?" Balky says, "Yeah, he told me he was going to play a little one-on-one with Miss Kelly from advertising."
Oh, see, he's getting to business. Bartok's getting right to business. At this point, Larry decides it's time to have the talk with Balky.
Yeah, Balky is being very naive and not seeing things for what they
He
are.
needs to set Balky straight about the situation. He goes, Balky, we have to talk. And they both sit down, and Balky interrupts him and goes, I know what you're going to say. And Larry's like, you do? He goes, yes, I do, and I couldn't agree with you more. Oh, and you see Larry relieved. He says, cousin, I am as tired as you are of always having cheddar puffs at our parties. Now, I thought maybe, we got those little sausages with a steak in them.
So then he says, no, he doesn't want to talk about hors d'oeuvres. He says he wants to talk about the beach towel business and how it sounds very risky.
So Larry's being really good at being like delicate and not condescending, but still trying to make it risky. That's exactly what I would say.
Yeah, risky.
Like, Balky, beach towel business is risky. Are you sure you want to do this?
And Balky says that he and cousin Bartok have talked about the risk, and they agree it's a no-prob situation.
No
prob situation. And he says, as he says, you have to spend money to make money. And Larry tries to explain to him that Bartok is using Balky and using his relationship with him as his cousin to take his money. Balky sort of responds with like, no, this is how Meeposians do it. He says, on Meepos, family trusts one another.
And then this is a great important line. Larry goes, Balky, L.A. did something to him. He's changed. And you know what? L.A. does do that to people.
Does it?
I think definitely 6 months in L.A. and he got from Balky to this.
From Bartok to Bart.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But Balky doesn't want to believe it at first. He says, cousin, just because he dresses different and talks different and acts different.
It doesn't mean
don't mean that he's different.
He just explained that he's completely different.
And then Larry says, Balky, if it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, chances are it's a duck. And then Balky's just thinking about it for a while. And then he's like, well, first you were talking about Bartok. Now you're talking about a duck. And then he just says, I know it's late and you're tired, so I'm going to give you some time to organize your thoughts.
Balky doesn't understand metaphors still. No. Sometimes he does, sometimes he doesn't.
Sometimes he doesn't. It's been 4 years in America.
No one's ever used the quacks like a duck metaphor with him, I guess. He's very childlike until he isn't when he needs to be at the end, right?
Yeah.
It's very interesting.
Well, he's also assuming the best Meeposian intentions.
He's giving him the benefit of the doubt. His family
expected his cousin Bartok, and he still thinks maybe he's just dressing a little different, but he's still Bartok inside, and it's family, and I should help him. We cut to the next day. Larry's in the apartment, and Bart enters, and he flings the door open. And he goes, Lair, dude, what's happening? And he peeks into Balky's room, doesn't see him, comes back out to the living room, and he's like, everything leveled out and cool, Broheim.
Broheim is an amazing word, and Broheim has kind of come back amongst the bro community.
Oh yeah, what is Broheim?
It's just bro. What's up, Broheim?
Broheim.
I don't even know the etymology of this, but that word has kind of come back in the last few years.
Broheim. Let me look it up.
It is a combination of brosif. You can also go, what's up, brosif? The bro words have made a comeback. That's all I know.
Oh yeah, this is from funtrivia.com. A broheim is an increasingly popular blend greeting created by the U.S. expatriate communities in Pan-Germanic Europe and the Nordic countries. The term literally translates to mean bro home. However, it has taken on the connotation of a term of endearment and effectively means friend or my brother in local context.
So it's like a Viking word.
Broheim.
Comes from Broheim, because it is very like Thor, Asgard, Viking kind of.
Kind of. Okay, Broheim. But then the surfers, appropriated it.
And then Bart goes, hey, is the Balkster home? Calls him Balkster. Larry's like, no, the Balkster.
Balkster. He says the Balkster is at the bank transferring his life savings into his checking account. And Bart is happy about that. He's like, all right, because I'm psyched to get the ball rolling on this deal. And Larry's like, yep. And then Larry just takes a moment and he just says it. He says, Bart, I know what you're doing. I'm not going to let you get your hands on Balky's money. And
Larry's getting serious.
Bart doesn't really get it, though. He's like, oh, wow. And he goes, and he thinks that, I know we're reading a lot of lines here, but it's because of the fun California accent. He goes, oh, wow, I catch what's going on here. I come up with the most happening outer lunar money-making scheme since the talking teddy bear, and I don't offer you a piece of it. Oh, wow, Lair. You have every right to be angry. Mea culpa, amigo. Latin and Spanish.
Yes, he mixes Latin and Spanish. That's fantastic.
And Broheim.
Viking.
Mea culpa, amigo. Lair, I'll let you in on the deal. And he tells him to go get his checkbook.
Okay, so Bart thinks Larry wants in on the deal and wants to invest on this thing. I also love when he references the talking teddy bear.
That's Teddy Ruxpin?
That's got to be Teddy Ruxpin. Absolutely. Teddy Ruxpin is huge in like 86, 87,
Let's see.
85.
Teddy Ruxpin.
It's Teddy Ruxpin.
Happened in
the late 80s.
86. Yeah.
I kind of wanted one. We never had one, but it was a big deal. It was just a tape and a moving joint in the mouth is all it was. Cassette tape.
Teddy Ruxpin.
So, yeah, Bart's completely missing what Larry's getting at as Balky returns.
Yeah, before Larry can say anything more to him, Balky comes in with his own checkbook. Checks.
I wrote checks.
And he says, my two favorite cousins. I'm so happy you're getting along. And Bart says, Belkman. And he says, glad you made it. I was starting to worry. And Balky says, oh, don't worry. Be happy. It's check writing time. So,
yes.
Of course, don't worry. Be happy.
Bobby McFerrin. Oh, my
Popular
God. Huge song. Don't worry. Be happy.
1988 a cappella song.
That song was everywhere, and I got tired of it very quickly because it was
still a great song.
It's still a good song. Yeah. I mean, Bobby McFerrin's a cappella chest thumping percussion is
the whole
fantastic.
Song is just
it's just him layered. Now you can live loop that if you want and do that the same thing.
So Balky sits down and is like preparing to write a check for his whole life savings, and Larry stops him and he says that he needs to tell him something. There's something he should know. He says that he's done a little investigating.
Oh, he is an investigative reporter.
Yes.
After all. Wow, Larry actually did something.
So let's see how far he dug. He called the West Coast.
Oh.
The West Coast, the number.
The whole West Coast.
I
called the entire West Coast.
I talked to the designer of the Peace O' the Beach towel. And of course, that's Mr. Greeley, because Bart goes, oh, wow, you talked to Mr. Greeley? And Larry continues, according to Mr. Greeley, Bart has no marketing rights to the towel at all.
Oh, boy.
And Balky's a little bit shocked. He says to Bartok, I thought you had an agreement for the marketing rights. And Bart's like, hey, no biggie. Those rights are just a phone call away. I can reach out and touch the dude tonight. And Larry says, no, Mr. Greeley said he has no intention of ever giving you those rights.
Bart's been lying. Reach out and touch the dude tonight as they play on the AT&T slogan. Reach out and touch someone.
It was their long distance ad campaign slogan in the 70s and 80s. And it started in print ads, and then it was on many, many television commercials. Reach out and touch the dude.
So Greeley is not selling the rights, and Bartok says, oh, wow, major downer, man. But he's like, hey, there's like a zillion killer ideas out there. And he goes, like I heard one the other day, pet rock candy. Blow my mind.
A combination
so, wait,
of
is
pet
this candy
rocks?
for pet rocks or is this candy made out of
Just a
pet
combination
rocks?
of
Pet rock
It's like
and
it's
rock
like that
candy.
one category in Jeopardy sometimes where you combine.
Yes.
Pet rock and rock candy. Pet rock.
But I was
candy.
like, wait, what is this exactly? Is it for the pet
It's
rock?
candy
is it
that
made out of
looks
the
like
pet rock?
pet rocks.
Does it look like the pet rock and you eat it? That's weird. But he finishes going,
Is it cake? Yeah.
It's all cake. He goes, Balky, with my brains and your righteous bucks, we can make it happen. So this whole thing just revolves around him getting all of Balky's money.
And Larry gets all Larry-like and controlling. He says, Bart, it's over. You're the last person on earth Balky would lend money to. And as he's saying that, Balky is writing the check. And Larry's like, Balky, what are you doing?
What are you doing? Balky, what are you doing?
What are you doing? And he says, I'm writing a check for my life savings.
What? You're what, Larry says?
And Balky says, cousin, when a member of your family needs your help, you help him, no matter what the cost.
Aw.
Very Meposian lesson there.
Yes.
And Larry's just frustrated. And he watches Balky tear out the check, give it to Bart. Bart looks at it and he says, oh, you made a mistake. You made the check out to Bartok, and the bank only knows me as Bart.
Oh, interesting. Balky did not make this mistake on purpose.
He gives the check back. And Balky says, no, cousin, I didn't make a mistake. And then we hear our lesson time music, which lasts for a long time.
Well, it's not even because they do lesson time music later. This is like
part one lesson.
This is like
emotional music.
Emotional, down to earth conversation music. Where it's nice. You even hear a little Mediterranean trilly guitar worked in, which you don't really hear.
Yeah, string instrument.
But why is this emotional music playing here, sister?
Because Balky is not giving the money to Bart. That would be stupid.
Oh, see, Balky learned.
He's giving the money to Bartok because he knows that somewhere inside them fancy clothes is the Bartok I grew up with. And I know that Bartok will use this money wisely.
Oh, this gets to Bartok.
And there's all this emotional music playing, and Balky and Larry just like look at Bartok, and Bartok sort of like puts his head down and shields his eyes, and he goes, I hate when you do this.
Oh, the accent's breaking.
In a Meposian accent.
Which Larry points out his Meposian accent's coming out. And Balky's and that means the rest of old Bartok can't be far behind. And he's encouraging Bart to let it out. He said he's kept Bartok locked up for too long.
And then the California voice is back, and he goes, I have to keep Bartok locked up. Bartok is a dork. And Balky says, why would you say such a thing? And what is a dork?
What is a dork?
You'd think in 4 years he would have learned the word dork.
No.
And Bart explains that a dork is a loser, and the only way I can be a success is by being Bart. My friend Frankie Bathgate says so.
I don't like this friend.
And Balky doesn't like this friend either. He says, cousin, excuse me for saying so, but your friend Frankie Bathtub, Bathgate, Bathtub, your friend Frankie Bathtub don't know Dick Butkus about success.
That's almost a tongue twister. Try saying that.
Your friend Frankie Bathtub don't know Dick Butkus about success.
Dick Butkus is a person.
Yes, who
is a football player.
Who is Dick Butkus?
Former football player and
a Chicago football player and
he was
Chicago
a bear
guy. Yeah.
Yes, and then went on to be an announcer, I think, and act. He was always cameoing in different things.
Yeah.
But you just love to say his name because it's Dick Butkus. It's got every bad word in there.
His name was Richard Marvin Butkus.
Marvin. Mind if I call you Dick? I mean, as a kid, you got away with saying like two bad words. But
it's Butkus. It's not Butkus.
But it's also like kiss my butt. Dick Butkus is a very Bart Simpson thing to say. Oh, that's the other thing. This name Bart. In 1990, Bart Simpson would have just been introduced to America the year before. Simpson started in 89.
But not as a California character.
No, but then Bart became, every time after that, anybody said Bart, you thought of Bart Simpson.
Yeah, true. And Bart Simpson also had a cowabunga dude.
Yeah, he would
phrase.
he eat my shorts, cowabunga dude. Early on, I had folders. Bart was like the huge hit character.
Yeah, we all had folders.
Yeah, in the first
Simpsons
few years,
folders.
and then it went on like everybody became a hit. There is a great series on Vice called Icons Unearthed. It's a 5-episode series all about the making of The Simpsons and the way it's changed, how it started. It's actually really good.
Yeah.
I've been enjoying that.
Okay, so back in the scene, he says Frankie Bathgate told him that he has to be Bart to be successful.
Bathtub butt kiss.
Balky is saying the only way to be a true success is by being yourself.
No.
And then Bart says, I'm not sure I know who Bartok is anymore. I think I lost him somewhere along the way. Just 6 months, he lost Bartok.
LA will do that to you, man. It's a crazy place, dude.
And then apparently Balky says, well, I know where you can find Bartok again on Mypos. And then suddenly Bart goes, well, how I can get back? How I can get back? Money. I don't have any money.
He just breaks back into Mimposi.
Yeah, he's back to Bartok. And Balky offers to loan him the money to go home.
Aww.
They hug and he says, thank you. And then we cut to like a final scene. We're still with lesson time music, but it's just Larry and Balky. And they're at the table with bowls of cereal in front of them. And Balky's reading a letter that they've received from Cousin Bartok. He says, and make sure you give Cousin Larry my regard and tell him when I visit America again, we'll do lunch. That's a joke. Where do I come up with that?
He wrote down, where do I come up with them?
And he's also sent his business card. And Balky reads the business card. Bartok's glow-in-the-dark sheep collars. Never lose a lamb at night again.
Oh.
So Bartok is... There must have been something cut out of the script that explains that Bartok was always like a business guy.
That's a good idea. You need the glow-in-the-dark sheep collars. Is actually a very good idea. As Larry goes, it looks like Bartok took a little bit of Bart back to Mypos with him.
Yeah, true.
That could be bad or good, but this is good. I mean, he's an entrepreneur, right? This guy's an inventor. He's looking at ways to solve problems.
And Balky says, well, of course he did. Don't be bogus, dude.
Don't be bogus, dude. Play on Don't Be Ridiculous. I like it.
And Larry says, promise me you'll never say dude again. And Balky says, you got it, Lair.
Lair. He calls him Lair.
And roll credits.
Freezes and roll credits. Listener, before we get into our thoughts, make sure you visit our TeePublic shop where you can pick up lovely Dance of Joy swag, t-shirts, hoodies, coffee mugs, totes bags, cell phone cases with the Dance of Joy logo on
Beach
there.
towels.
We should get a beach towel that's the color of sand with the Dance of Joy logo, so you can find it.
Beach towel.
We'll make a piece of the beach
or sheep
towel.
collars. We need sheep collars.
Glow in the dark sheep collars. Very good idea. So, what was the lesson here? How did Balky actually end up helping Bart?
He sent him back to me.
He's like, go back to your country, dude. You know what you gotta do?
Like,
go back to where you came from.
America is so messed up. We're sending you back home. What? That's not a very Myposian thing to do. You help him.
He meant connect with his roots, but there are certain cities like New York will do this to a person
only
too.
Been there for 6 months.
It's a great trope where you end up in these cities and it completely changes you, and the only way to fix that is to go back to where you came from, man. It's pretty much what he did. It's so funny. They sent him back to Mypos. Clearly, he's well adjusted back on Mypos.
That's so harsh. Like, they just didn't like him so much that they sent him back to Mypos.
I wonder if he ever visited again America, or he was just traumatized.
And by the way, there have been so many big events in Balky's life that he could not go back to Mypos for.
He missed his mama's birthday.
Nor could he bring his mama back.
He was
to
like
America, but he somehow has the money to send Bartok back to Mypos.
They had a parade for him, I think.
Yeah, exactly. But he had enough money to send Bartok back.
He never visited Mypos. He's like, I'm not going back there. You go back there. Tell my mama I said hi.
Yeah, exactly. Why would he send him back to
Because
Mypos?
LA corrupts a dude.
Why didn't they just welcome him in Chicago and be like, we'll get you a job at the Chronicle mailroom?
Because it would have been too hard to green screen every episode moving forward.
They got to get out. They got to get rid of him. Send him back to Mypos.
Send him back to Mypos. I think that's a hilarious solution.
What'd you think of the episode overall?
I like Bronson doing this dual role. The accent is fantastic. He does a great job. Yeah, the annoying laugh and just being a sleazy character. But I really appreciated that emotional moment at the end when he breaks down and he talks to me. I was like, that really worked. They nailed it. The acting, he was great acting against himself. And yeah, it got me in the feels when I was like, oh, he got him.
I think
Balky was actually smart. He's acting like a kid and naive the whole time, but then he flips it and does something smart and very thoughtful.
Yeah, it was interesting. In the beginning of the episode, I was thinking, oh, this might be about it might be Bartok teaching Balky to finally break out of being
yes.
Just come on, we're in America. You can work on the accent. You can not be so naive anymore. You can learn things. Look, it's easy. But then it was the flip.
The lesson is kind of always remember your roots, I guess, or
don't be someone.
Don't be someone you're not. Be who you are. And a little bit of Mypos invests in Balky is what makes him Balky. And Bartok completely
and extreme
abandoned.
Naivety.
Yes, and not knowing metaphors when it's convenient for the joke.
Yes. But it was fun. There wasn't much. There was some great dialogue, great California reference dialogue, some fun wordplay, not a whole lot of physical comedy, but
I thought the emotional moment was good.
Yeah.
It paid off for me.
It was. And, I think there was a missed opportunity for a dance of joy.
They just had one last episode.
When the two cousins first meet.
Oh, you do know how hard that's going to be?
Balky and his brother, Justin Pinchot could have.
Yeah, but what about the catching in the arms? You can't green screen that very easily, that kind of technology. That would have been way too hard.
Well, he could have turned his head. It could have been the back of his head. Justin Pinchot's back.
When he catches him in his arms?
Yeah.
No, with his head turned around?
Yeah, I don't know.
That's not gonna.
Or they could have started it. I don't know.
Somebody would have gotten hurt. What do our listeners think, sister?
Okay, so we have one comment from our listener, cousin Nicole Stoner, who writes, one thing I've noticed as we make our way through the remainder of the series is that we'll notice an uptick in the different amounts of Bronson's impressions and accents in some episodes. I'm reminded of Andy Kaufman's evolution of Latka Gravas into Vic Ferrari on Taxi. Another example includes Steve Urkel, Stefan Urkel.
Yes,
on
they did
Family
a similar
Matters.
thing. Yes.
We got a taste of some of it in a couple of past episodes, but this will become more prevalent later on. There's nothing wrong with it, but this episode is a good example of what that will entail, even if it's Bartok as his own character and not Balky speaking in an American accent.
Well, we're 5.5 seasons in. They got to come up with stuff to do. They did everything. Don't be ridiculous was said twice, and we had a play on it. Don't be bogus, dude.
Of course I have. Don't be ridiculous.
And no Dimitri in this episode.
We had a whole thing in the beginning with the decorated apartment. He could have been there with a cord or wearing garlic.
Or a surfboard.
A glow-in-the-dark collar or a surfboard or something.
Surfboard from California.
A beach towel. He could have had a beach towel.
The Dimitri intern must have been off that week.
It was just they had to cut him. Dimitri got cut.
Okay, now it's time for the segment of our show that we call Perfect Strangers Today, or PS Today, in which we talk about can this episode have been made today? We kind of already talked about the technology aspect. It could be done a lot better today, in fact.
You could have 5 Balkies if you want, walking around
and
all
in fact,
different characters.
everything in this episode would hold
For
up.
the most part.
A business idea, you come to California. Oh, the California lingo would probably be a bit different.
I mean, SNL still, they did that bit, the Californians, where they talk they'll talk like, what are you doing here? And they just all talk about what route they took, what highways they took, is the whole thing. So there's a little bit of that.
Some of these California references were definitely 80s specific.
But the idea of a relative that's coming in to kind of con you out of your money and one person being trusting.
And also a relative that comes to America and totally changes how they are.
Yeah. All of that is very timeless topics.
They had that in kind of the opposite but similar theme in Rami, where his Egyptian cousin comes and he's like, or when he goes to Egypt, he wants to get in touch with his roots, but his cousins are all American stuff.
They just want to party. They're like, bro, why are you doing this? Why we gotta go here? This is
why do you want to go to the mosque?
In American things.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. He's like,
So absolutely. This episode could be done today and could be done a lot better with.
Could you still have identical cousins? Yeah, we can still have identical cousins. How does that work?
I mean, in today's shows, you'd probably have to explain how that happened, but back then. They just said.
Or you just make it like a science fiction show and it's a cloning mishap. And there's
But they're
14
not.
donkeys.
But they weren't identical cousins. That was just implied from the Patty Duke.
They just look alike. They just happen to look alike. No, I think this one holds up. I think you can do all of it and you send them back to the old country.
Yeah.
The person is prosperous.
Yeah, that part wouldn't. I would have liked to. I like to. If this was done again, I'd want to see a different ending instead of sending him back to Meepos.
Get out of my country. Anyways, that's it for this week. Join us next week when the cousins do some volunteer work at a hospital. For, is it for humanitarian reasons or other reasons?
We'll find out.
Yeah, knowing Larry, he's probably got an angle. Of course. In the meantime, you can support this show by visiting our website and clicking on that Buy Us a Coffee button. You can also go to danceofjoypod.com/support and support the show. All the dig does go back into keeping the show hosted and keeping it moving as we get through the final few seasons.
And we're almost there. We can't stop now, so we need those.
We're
dig
right
dust.
in the middle of season 5, so
Yes.
we have a couple more to go, which is crazy.
And then what will we do every week after that?
I don't know.
We'll figure it out when we get there.
Let's start thinking about it now.
Yes. You can also support us by visiting our website, danceofjoypod.com, and from there, checking out all the places where you can listen to our podcast, where you can like us, rate us, review us, follow us, subscribe, etc. You can also press a button right there on the main website and leave us a voice message. Tell us if you ate strawberry ice cream from the Neapolitan box. Tell us if you have any identical cousins. And if you don't like the sound of your own voice, as many of us don't, you can leave us, you can send us an email at danceofjoypod@gmail.com. And of course, you can find us on our social media sites. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. But Imran, what's the most important thing our listeners should do?
Never wash your sheepskin.
Never wash your sheepskin.
It destroys its integrity.
Especially
it
if it's from unmilked. Oh, those were goats.
Unmilked goats. Never milk your goats when you're going to use their hair. No, the most important thing is to share this show. Listener, get it out there in the world. Turn
Word of mouth
on.
goes a long way. It's the best way to promote our show. And that's our show for the week. And now we are so happy.
Now we are so happy. We do the dance of joy.
Hey, 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 hey.